Tom Holland's a genius. Let me tell you why. First of all, the other day when I realized he was a genius, I was sitting on the couch. I was eating a killer python and I looked over to my phone. I wanted to watch some YouTube. I started watching YouTube, 30 minutes goes by and I realized I'm watching Tom Holland videos again. Tom Holland's a great guy, don't get me wrong, but simply looking at a career like his makes me think that I could have been him in another world. I could have also been Timothy Chalamet. But that's for another video. I think to myself, people love him because he's quirky, he's handsome. He spoils movies, big ones, Marvel movies. I wouldn't do that if I was Spiderman. But after watching this one particular video, I realized something about him that I should probably inherit. Can't really inherit it because he's not my dad. Something that I should probably do that I'm not. What is it, you ask? Watch this video.
So how do you prepare yourself? Now you're going to get a lot of attention probably from being like this movie and another huge movie coming up. Can you prepare yourself for things like that?
I mean, the only way to prepare is to ask people like Chris, what did you do and what would you have done differently, or how should I approach this?
Chris Hemsworth gave me some really good advice after we shot Heart of the Sea, and then once I got cast, he sent me a really lovely email about just make sure you keep your feet on the ground and you don't let this affect you. You keep your family and your friends close. But then Robert gave me some very sound advice when I did my screen test. Obviously, as you can imagine, I was pretty terrified. And he came up to me and said, look, I felt exactly the same as you did when I did my test for Iron Man, but just relax, let your body take over, and if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And here we are today.
When I watched that video, I realized, okay, maybe he's not only famous because he can do a backflip. Maybe there's something deeper. Clearly, Tom Holland uses the people around him that have more experience and more wisdom than him, and he learns off that. It sounds so simple, but I think if you're on set with Chris Hemsworth or Robert Downey Jr., I'm sure most of us would want to impress them or use them as a way to get further in our career. Although you might have good intentions, that actually might ruin your chances to go any further in your career and be successful. He actually asks them questions about their lives that can help him grow in his own experience. And from doing that, I think it does two things. Chris Hemsworth is thinking, oh, this guy is very mature, and he actually honors what I have to say. And for Tom Holland, it's almost like a shortcut into the future where he gets to know things that he wouldn't have known if he hadn't asked, and that most other people his age wouldn't get because they don't have the maturity to ask someone those kind of questions. Alright, but most of us aren't Tom Holland and we don't have Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth at our fingertips. But surely there's ways that we can use Tom Holland's mindset to grow our careers and our acting performances. So I thought of 3 different ways we can do this in your journey as an actor. So the first thing I would say is that we can actually use our friends or peers in our acting class as a way to learn from them. I think sometimes we think that our friends and peers are the same level as us and they're not ahead of us, so there's nothing that we can learn from them. But I think that every single person has something individual about them that makes them great at what they do. So I think no matter what age your friends are, you can still learn from them. But if you're thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't really work the same way, because Tom Holland was asking people who are way better than him and who've had more experience and things like that. But you'd be surprised what your friends know that you don't, just because you haven't asked. And another way you can use Tom Holland's mindset to learn from people is actually your acting teacher. And I know you probably already do that already, but I mean like going further in like asking questions, maybe asking about their life and what they wish they knew when they were your age. And I'm sure there's a few things they wish they knew because they're acting teachers. And the last point I wanted to say is that we can actually learn from our favorite actors through YouTube. There's so much advice and content on YouTube for actors like you and me who can learn from the best of the best. It's almost like going to acting school with like your favorite celebrities as your teachers. You just have to search for the right content. I even have a video called The Best Advice for Actors, and it's Bryan Cranston sharing some truth about auditioning. So if you want to check that out, go click it right now, but I'm gonna head back inside. So for me, I'm gonna be a bit less jealous in the future and stop hating on people who are ahead of me and start to learn from them, I guess.